What's up, gang? Toby here with Toby's Takes, here for episode 2 of Toby's Takes. And today we're going to be talking about... Today we're doing a more lighthearted episode today than we did last week. This episode... Yeah, you can see I have my note card right here. I took notes this time. I took notes this time. We're going to be talking about Kanye West, a subject, a person as near and dear to my heart. So people love to have conversations like, what's Kanye's best album? What's Kanye's worst album? How would you rank all of Kanye's albums? And many people have had this conversation many times. I think almost every single you ask 100 different Ye fans to rank Kanye's discography, and you get 100 different lists. That's how good Kanye's discography is. And here I'm here to put my 2 cents onto the table. We're gonna be discussing my ranking of the Kanye West discography. So let's begin. So, at 9th, and also we're not gonna be including either of the collab albums, so no Watch the Throne and no Kids See Ghosts. As much as I'd love to put Kids See Ghosts on this thing, because I love Kids See Ghosts, I don't consider it a part of the main discography, so I'm not going to put on this list because I don't consider it part of the main discography. Neither do I consider Watch the Throne part of the main discography. But Kids See Ghosts would probably be higher up, Watch the Throne would probably be lower on the list, just to give you all an idea. So at number 9, I feel like this is an obvious choice for most people. Jesus is King, probably Kanye's least good album. I know a lot of people out there, just straight up do not like Jesus is King, and I understand that. The production is a lot more minimal than on Kanye's past albums. Probably his most minimal album. The songs are very short. I think the longest song is like 3 minutes. And you look at other Kanye albums like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, the longest song on that album, Runaway, is 9 minutes. So I think a lot of people who are used to having longer Kanye songs felt kind of disappointed on this album. But I don't like to talk about the things I don't like, because I like Jesus is King. I like it quite a bit. And I remember one specific memory that I had was I'm in the car. This was when my family, we were going to Vermont for a weekend. We were driving up to Vermont for a weekend to visit a school. And I remember that whole trip, I was just listening to Jesus is King that whole 4-hour car ride, just getting acquainted with the album. I remember hitting play on every hour, and just like, that song just was exactly how I felt, knowing that album had finally come out. So I think there's some great songs on Jesus King. I love Every Hour. Salah had a lot of hype around it when it came out. People were saying like, this is definitely the best song on the album. It's a great track. I think it's a good song. It's definitely not among my favorites on the album. I think it's kind of it's certainly a good track, but I don't think it's great. Follow God, I think, is one of Kanye's best bangers in years. Like that beat, the way Kanye's rapping. I love his rhyme scheme on the track. Once you get to God Is, that's just pure classic gospel, you know? And I love that so much. There's some great gospel tracks. I'm not a religious man myself, but I can get down to some good gospel music. And then Hands On is definitely my favorite off the album. It's definitely in like at least my top 25 Kanye songs, because I love the distorted vocals. I don't know if distortion is the right word for it. Those vocals with the effects on to go hands on, oh hands. You know those ones? I love that. When I heard that song for the first time, that was the thing that immediately stuck out to me. And I love his verses on the track. I love what he's saying. I think the Fred Hammond verse at the end, everything about that song I just really like. And then Use This Gospel, I think, is a great closer. You had the reunion of Clips after... When was the last Clips album? I don't even remember. But you had the reunion of Clips after all these years. And I think Jesus is King, I feel like it does have... I like the album. It's a good album. And I can talk about it. It's like my favorite album, but I can talk about any Kanye album like it's my favorite Kanye album. even if it's not. I think it has a lot of missed potential because the instrumentals I think could have been a lot better. I think Kanye's lyrics, he's basically just talking about the same subject for the entire time, and it's kind of, I can see why a lot of people don't like that. It kind of gets grating after 27 minutes. I think it's lacking in a lot. It's lacking in a lot of the departments. It definitely could have been a better album than what it ended up being, but I still enjoy it. So at number 8 we have, I think, Graduation. Graduation is I know some people who love Graduation who put it at their number 1. I don't necessarily feel that way. I think its sound is kind of like every Kanye album is a great album. But I think I agree with a lot of people when they say that the sound on Graduation sounds pretty dated. It has some great tracks on it. I remember Stronger. That was one of the first Kanye songs I got into, because back when I was into my Daft Punk phase, back when I was into my Daft Punk phase in 8th grade, I remember Kanye sampled that song, and he did a great thing with Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is one of my favorite songs in general. So I think Kanye doing his thing on that track, I think, is amazing. I Wonder is another song that I love off that thing. I love Kanye's sample on that song, I think, is amazing. Has a really inspirational kind of feel to it. What are some others off that album? I should have taken more notes, because literally all I have on this note card is what my rankings are. I didn't write anything else on here. The Glory, I think, is a great song. You know, take to the, you know, everything that was going on in that song I love. Drunken Hot Girls is a song that gets a lot of hate, but I kind of like it. Good Morning is a song that I like a lot, because that's my alarm in the morning. I wake up in the morning, you know, good morning, ooh, you know, that's what I wake up to every morning. So that song has a special place in my heart as well. There are other great songs on that album that I'm forgetting about right now, but I don't want to talk about every single song like I did on Jesus is King, otherwise we'd be here for like an hour. So number 7 we have Late Registration. You're gonna start to see that I'm much more of a fan of new Kanye than I am of old Kanye. Late Registration, I think, is another great album, but I put it over Graduation because it has the soul sound that classic Kanye is known for. That's just completely timeless. You know, it sounded great when it came out, and it sounds great now. You know, there's songs on that thing that I love, like the opener. What was the opener called? Shit, I'm blanking. The opener. Heard Him Say. That's a song that I love. That's the only time you're ever gonna get me to willingly listen to Adam Levine. That's the only time I've ever chose to listen to Adam Levine in my entire life. So Kanye did something good there. He got me to enjoy Adam Levine on that song. I think Roses, I think, is a great song. There's a lot of songs on this album specifically that really, like, humanize Kanye, you know what I'm saying? Some people, they have this view of Kanye, they're like, oh, he's just a egotistical bastard. I think a lot of songs on Late Registration really kind of topple that view. I think Gone is one of Kanye's best closing tracks, I think. It's a good continuation coming off of The College Dropout. It showed that Kanye was not just going to be a one-time thing. He had longevity after The College Dropout. So, not speaking of The College Dropout, that's coming up later. Number 6, we have Ye, 2018. Kind of a self-titled album. Now, Ye is special. Ye was actually the first Kanye album that I listened to. I started listening to Kanye in 2018 when Ye came out, because I heard all the clamor about a new Kanye album. So I listened. That's when I started, like, for real getting into Kanye, like, just straight up, like, becoming a Kanye stan. Ye has, despite being it's Kanye's shortest album, despite that, it has some of my all-time favorite Kanye songs on it. Like, I Thought About Killing You. I love that song so much. It's such a quotable song. Like, I love that song a lot. You know, Yikes, All Mine, everything on that song, it's short, but it's top tier Kanye. And he goes a lot more into his emotional state at the time with everything that was going on in 2018, all the Trump shit, everything with his bipolar. It's a good look into Kanye's psyche at the time. So it has a special place in my heart as my first Kanye album. So that's, a lot of people would disagree with me when I put it over Late Registration and Graduation. But hey, that's just how I feel, you know? And then after that, above Ye at 5th place, we have The College Dropout, the last of the classic Kanye albums. It was just, that album is just such a classic. It's just such a classic rap album, you know? The production, Kanye's soul-inspired production on that thing is just completely timeless. And I feel like I prefer, man, there's so many good songs on that thing. Like, Jesus Walks is a Kanye classic. Heard Him Say, that was on Late Registration. We Don't Care is a Kanye classic. It's just great, man. It's just great. I feel like I'm repeating myself so much, like, oh, this song is great, but I don't know. I need to, that's one of the things I need to work on, more elaborating on my own points. Going up, we're into modern Kanye with 808s. This was the introduction of modern Kanye when we got 808s. Man, I love 808s so much. Like, 808s is such like an emotionally cathartic album. Whenever you're listening to it, it sounds like it's like the greatest album of all time. You know, like the way Kanye auto-tunes his voice, like the effects that he puts on his voice. That was the first time Kanye really did like full-on singing. It's not much of a hip-hop album, but that album is that's one of Kanye's most influential albums, because you wouldn't have Drake without 808s. You wouldn't have a ton of the rappers that you have today. You would not have them if Kanye had never made 808s. Like, the rap scene today would not look the same way that it does today if not for 808s. And it's the streetlights, I think, man, it does so much with so little. It just has that little passage that it repeats over and over, but it's so impactful, you know? Going up to the next song, the next album, I think 808s and Yeezus, I think, are about, like, they're interchangeable on this list. I might actually tie them. Technically on the list I have Yeezus above 808s, but I might put them at a tie. I might put them at a tie when I edit this. Yeezus, I think, it's just straight up, it's just full on ego. It's straight aggressiveness. And that's something that I can definitely appreciate. I can appreciate some great industrial hip hop. You know, songs like On Sight, I think, is one of the most iconic album openers not of all time, but like definitely among modern hip hop. Just that synth that you just hear go on for like a good 15 seconds. That just leaves such an impression on you the first time that you hear it. And I think Black Skinhead is great. Hold My Liquor is great. I'm In It. A lot of people don't like I'm In It, but that song, if I need to get pumped up for whatever reason, that's the song that I put on. Like, I remember back when I was getting into, when I really started getting into playing Smash Brothers, when I'm on, I'm sorry, my throat's very dry right now. When I got into playing Smash Bros. Ultimate around March of last year, this is the song that I put on because it just gets me so pumped up. It keeps me going. That song is probably about 50% of the reason why I'm good at Smash. If I didn't have that song, I would not be nearly as good of a Smash player as I am. And I think, Blood on the Leaves, I think, is, that's one of Kanye's masterpieces right there. Guilt Trip is a song that some people don't like. It's one of Kanye's most underrated songs, but I think it's a great song. And Bound 2 is probably... Bound 2 is such a... It's so not how you would expect Yeezus to end, and it's not how you would expect now like Yeezus to end, but it fits so perfectly for whatever reason. You know, I love it's like he's kind of going back to his old Kanye kind of soul sampling roots, you know, on that song. It's good, it's great stuff. And at number 2, we've got My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Now, a lot of people, actually, Anthony Fantano, at the time I'm recording this, he just released his Redux review for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and infamously, in his first review, he gave that album a 6. And a lot of people will say that this is like one of the greatest albums of all time, an easy 10 out of 10. And he just gave it a 6 again, which I think is hilarious, but that's kind of off topic. Yeah, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It's a lot of people would say it's the peak of Kanye's career. I mean, and I don't disagree, and I don't entirely disagree with that. It's such, the production on it is so grand and so maximal. You know, you have the opener, you know, like with those vocals, like, can we get much higher? And then that's just a perfect tone setter for the album. And then once that song like kicks in for real, you know, where I fantasized with this back in Chicago. That's one of the best hip hop opening tracks of all time. Maybe across any genre maybe across any album that I've ever listened to. You know, Power is such an iconic song. You know, like no one man should have all that power. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's such a good song. I mean, Runaway is the big song from that album. You know, just Kanye going off for 9 minutes. It has those beautiful distorted vocals at the end that I absolutely love. It has the Pusha T verse in the middle of it that I love. It has Kanye's hook on that song is amazing. I mean, it's honestly it's close to a perfect song, keeping it real. Runaway is. You know, So Appalled, I love. Monster is one of the best bangers of all time, especially Jay-Z's verse where he's just naming off the monsters like Sasquatch, Godzilla, King Kong, Loch Ness Goblin, Ghoul, a zombie with no conscience. It doesn't get any better than that, you know? And Devil in a New Dress, I think, is another song that is kind of bringing back that old Kanye soul sound. And Rick Ross's the guitar solo, and then the Rick Ross verse that follows it is one of the greatest moments in music history, I think. Because, you know, the guitar solo from Mike Dean is just completely beautiful, and then Rick Ross comes in and he's just going completely off. It's an amazing moment. And then Lost in the World, the closer, I think is amazing. It's an amazing song. It's probably lower on my list of Kanye closing track is probably a bit lower, but it's still an amazing song. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, it was the album that Kanye needed to make at the time, because his career was in complete shambles at the time, you know? Like, 808s had not been received very well at the time, even though it's a classic now, but people did not see it that way at the time. Kanye had his VMAs incident with Taylor Swift. Like, if he had not made that album, it's very possible that Kanye would not have a career today. So it's just such an important album. And you know what my number 1 is just by process of elimination. It's The Life of Pablo. Now, a lot of people, Life of Pablo, I think, what is there even to say about this? It's such a good album. It has so many amazing songs, and everything all just comes together by the end of it. You have the opener, Ultralight Beam, which is definitely Kanye's best gospel-themed track. It's just such an amazing, it makes you feel at peace when you're listening to it, you know? Like, you know, We On an Ultralight Beam, it makes you feel like everything's gonna be okay when you're listening to it. And then right after that, you have Father Stretch My Hands, which is like a gospel-infused banger, and it's such an amazing song. You know, the Kid Cudi hook on that. I mean, that song is just an amazing moment. You have Famous, which is a dope song. Feedback, because I think Feedback's kind of underrated. It doesn't have a lot to it, but it's just such a banger that I love. Highlights has one of my favorite Kanye lines of all time. I'm wishing that my dick had GoPro so I could play that shit back in slow-mo. That's one of... It's just such a dumb line, but it's one of my favorite Kanye lines of all time. Waves. Waves is a song that Waves is a song that kind of had to grow on me for a long time just because I was so apprehensive about Chris Brown, because I hate Chris Brown because he's a fucking monster. But as soon as I was able to get over my apprehensions about listening to Chris Brown, I was able to get into it. It's such a beautiful song. It's just, I don't even know what to say about it because it's amazing. And then after that, you have just hit after hit after hit. You have FML, Real Friends, and Wolves. That's like the Kanye holy trilogy of songs right there. Wolves is probably my favorite. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. It's probably my favorite Kanye song just because I love the haunting vocals on it. I love everything that song is doing. I love the vocals that Kanye puts out, even though they're kind of weird. It's just such a haunting, beautiful song. And then after that, you kind of get into, 30 Hours is great, even though I'm not super big into like the 2-minute ad-lib section at the end. No More Parties in LA is one of my favorite songs, because that's just a pure classic hip-hop. That's just pure hip-hop right there, You have Kendrick and Kanye just straight rapping. They're just pure rapping right there over a Mad Lib beat. Like that's such an amazing crossover, and it's such an amazing moment. And then the closer, Saint Pablo. That's one of probably Kanye's best closing track on an album that he's ever done. So I think that's about everything that I have to say. Kanye West. That's my ranking. That is my rankings of the Kanye West discography. So, going down the list from the top: Life of Pablo, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Yeezus, and then 808s at a tie. And then The College Dropout, Yay, Late Registration, Graduation, and then Jesus is King at the bottom. So that is my ranking. It's not really definitive because any Kanye fan will tell you the rankings kind of change all the time, just depending on what you're feeling like. But as of right now, on January 11th, 2020, that's what I'm feeling. So that's my Kanye rankings. That's episode 2 of Toby's Takes. I'll see y'all in the next episode.